Hello guys, in this tutorial I'm going to go over how to do the hand, but before we do that, we also have to figure out how to use the IK to rotate the hand when we are in IK mode. Because now when I rotate the IK, the hand doesn't move at all. Let's go back to FK. Now you see FK can actually move it. If you look at the joint, we have a OR constraint from FK, and that's why FK can control it. If you go to IK only controls the upper arm, but it doesn't control the wrist. To solve that, I just need to select the IK controller and then the wrist joint. Let's do a constraint or constraint. Without maintain offset, apply. Okay. When that is done, we have FK and IK here, and they both have one control on the OR constraint. That means they have equal control of the wrist joint. That means when I rotate the IK only, then the joint will only rotate halfway there. So I'm about like negative 90 degrees. So the joint only rotates like negative 44 degrees. Okay. Now to actually make the IK take full control when we are in IK mode, and the FK take full control when we're in FK mode, we need to use this IK-FK blend slider to control the weight on the wrist joint, on the OR constraint applied on the wrist joint. Now let's go to Window, Node Editor. Okay, this is my IK-FK blend. That's my reverse node. Okay, let's open it. I also need to open my translate. Okay, now let's grab the OR constraint. I can find that in my outliner here. It's underneath the wrist joint, this one. Let's drag it in, open it. Now I need to use my output X to control my output X from my reverse to control the FK, because it is also controlling the FK's visibility and its weight. So then the original translate X of the slider goes to IK. Okay, just making sure they're consistent. So yours could be that the output X is actually controlling IK. If that's true, then the output X also controls the weight of IK too. So yours could be the reversed relationship. The only thing you have to make sure is that they're consistent. Okay, when that is done, now if I'm in IK mode, I can rotate my IK this way. And then it will control the wrist. If I go back to FK, now the FK controls the wrist. Okay, that is it. Now to organize everything, because now we have like all those stuff here, right? And I need to put them into groups so I can easily find them. That's my slider. Oh, I don't know what that is. IK-FK blend GRP2. Oh, that's actually a reserved version of the slider. Just put it there. I have master mover. Let's parent the joint underneath master mover. Find FK controller, IK blend, and IK controller. Okay, drag those out underneath master mover. Those are my reserved ones. Let's open it. So now I have my controllers here. Let's grab them and then group all the group of the controller. Let's call this AC. Left arm GRP. So that's the group of all my animation curves. Okay, now let's grab the shoulder joint, duplicate it, let's call this new one AC left, AC JT, JT, left JT. This time it's clavicle end. Okay, and then open it. I don't need anything down there, so delete all the children. That gives me a extra joint here. Okay, just to make it really visible to us, I can make it bigger like that by changing the radius. Now my shoulder joint can be actually pulling out of the joint hierarchy. So I just unparent it, and then I can parent it underneath its own group. Let's call this left JT. I'll band shoulder, or we can call it arm if that's everything. GRP. Okay. Now I have the group of the joint of my arm. It's also parented underneath the master mover. Now if you take a look, I have the AC of my arm, and I also have my joint of my arm. Let me group them all together. Call this one left arm band. Oh, sorry, rig. Now underneath this left arm rig group, or you can call it folder, because the purpose of this is for organization. If you open it, we have the arm controllers, we also have the joint, they are underneath the rig. So anytime if I want to take a look and see how my arm is working, maybe make some changes, all I have to do is go into this folder and do anything I want, because now I isolated this functionality on the arm in this folder. This way everything's more modular and I can change things whenever I want without destroying other parts. If you do it like randomly, you have joints underneath joints, maybe controllers underneath joints, and then some groups, clusters, curves all into this joint system, then everything is gonna kind of like all combine together. So it's really hard to make changes later, and also hard to make sense of your rig if another rigger take care of it, takes it, and then they want to do any change. It's hard for them to make sense of what's happening in your rig. That's why I wanted to do it in this way, so everything is pretty much modular. Okay. Now, because they are underneath my master mover, I can move everything. That's cool. But the thing is, I cannot use the clavicle to control the arm anymore. To do that, all I have to do is grab the clavicle joint again. Okay, the clavicle joint. And then let's grab the FK's group of my arm controller. Do a constraint. Parent constraint. This time you want to check maintain offset. Okay, now you also want to use this clavicle joint to do a parent constraint on the group of your arm joints. It's one constraint, parent constraint. With those two constraints applied, now I can move the arm the way I wanted them to do. Now the reason it's not following, the IK is not following, is because that's intentional. The IK shouldn't be following any FK joint, but we can set up some multi-parenting system here so they can follow, but for now let's just keep it this way. On the other hand, if I switch back to FK, because I did a parent constraint on all the FK controllers, right? I did a parent constraint here. This constraint is coming from the clavicle joint. Now if I rotate the clavicle here, the FK follows it. Okay. And then last thing I want to clean up will be hiding the things that I don't need to see. For example, the group of the joint. Let's hide it. Okay, cool. That's the arm part. Making sure when you drag the slider, IK/FK switches or blends, and then there's no popping in the middle. Okay, so they're perfectly aligned. That's a requirement. Let's move on to the hand. First of all, I want to open the joint group of all my hand joint, there are 5 joint chains for 5 fingers. For 5 fingers, I can just unparent those, so that they're showing here outside of my joint system now. Now it's a good time to give them a group. Let's call this one left JT hand. I believe I have band in front of JT and then GRP. And this group will be my hand group, right? Just to repeat the pattern I'm having here, I can group it again, and I can call this one left hand rig. And put it underneath my master mover group. Now you see I have 2 rig groups. One is for the arm, the other one is for the hand. And then I can start putting in controllers, and just like what I had on what I have now on the arm, I have a animation curve group and then a joint group. In the left hand rig, I will have the same thing. Now I have a joint group. I just need to have another controller group to control all the joints. Okay, let's create those controllers. Go create nervous primitives circle. Okay. And then let's also create a CV curve. Use one linear. Go from here, the edge of this curve, and then go there. Okay, that create another curve. Let's go to display and check shapes, so I can open them and see their shape underneath the transform node. Now I want to parent this shape to the circle. So I need to use an email command called parent dash shape dash add. Okay. I believe it doesn't matter which order you tap those 2 dash things. All you have to do is tap them all in lowercase. Now if you run it, that will actually duplicate the shape of the line, and then duplicate it and put it underneath the circle shape. Now the circle transform. Now the transform of the circle have 2 shapes, and you can grab either one of them. You should be able to select the translation node. Now I don't need the curve, the line anymore. I just need this one as my finger controllers. Let's call this one AC left thumb finger. Okay. Now I don't need to see those anymore. Let's go to display and uncheck shapes. See, it's closed, and then it looks like this. Quite convenient. Let's group it 1, 2 times. Okay. The first time, let's call this a oversight, which will be used for set German keys. And then this one, the actual top group, let's call it GRP, and this one will be used to match the transformation with the joint. Okay, so 3 groups, 2 groups, 3 in total in the hierarchy. Another problem I have is the pivot of the controller is here. That's what I needed, but I need the shape to be different. Let's grab all the vertex there and then move them this way and just match it, the end of the vertex to the origin. We don't have to be precise here, it just have to be pretty much there. Okay, now that's my entire group. I don't need to reserve one actually, I can just duplicate this one for other fingers. So grab it, grab the top group of the controller and then the sub joint. Let's do a modify, match transformation, match all transforms. Okay, let me just put it on the shelf and then press it. Now my controller will be snapped there. A few things I have to fix. One thing is it's too big, so let me just make it smaller, and then I use object mode and drag it back in like that. and then maybe I want to rotate it 90 degrees like this. I think I have to make it even smaller like that. Okay, looks good enough. Okay, you want to make sure that if you select the controller itself, you got all zeros and ones in the channel box. If you go to the offset, you got the same thing. But if you go to the finger one, the group one, it has those values to match the transformation with the joint. Okay, that's the requirements. Now if you select the controller and then go to move to, you see its axis, grab the joint, you should see the same axis. Okay, so they share the same orientation. That's also a requirement. Okay, one finger is done. Duplicate this one, and then grab the next finger. Let's do match transformation again. See, it snaps to the next joint. Okay, grab this new one again, and then shift select the next joint. Let's do the same thing. Oops, sorry. Grab the new one, duplicate it, and then shift select the next joint, and then do that again. That matches the new controller to the next joint. Now it's probably a good time to rename it. Oops. And I think I forgot to give it a number. Sorry about that. No big deal, just put in 01. For the first controller, and its parent. Okay. This one will be 02. The renaming here is really, repetitive and kind of annoying too. That's why you need to learn some mile command later on when you get more sophisticated with rigging. It's hard to imagine that a rigger don't know anything about mile command, because that's gonna be time consuming for you to rig anything. Okay, but for now let's just practice. Okay, now I have 3 groups or 3 controllers to control the sum. Now moving on to the index, I can just duplicate from any group here, any 3 of them. Let's duplicate the last one, and then shift select the first joint of the index finger. Let's do a match transformation. Now this time it's tilted this way, no big deal. All I have to do is grab the vertex on the controller and then rotate it 90 degrees. Now the pivot is there. I can holding down D and B to move the pivot to where the joint is, and then rotate it 90 degrees up. Okay, that feels really nice. Maybe I can make it slightly lower than that. Okay, cool. Let's change the name here. I can use search and replace name, and then I can search for sum, and then replace that with index. Okay, if I do that, with hierarchy selected, I can change all their name like that. Now this one will be 01. Okay. Now let's duplicate this one. Shift select the next joint in the hierarchy. Let's do another match transformation. Now I have 02. Okay. I will pause the video here, and then I will finish everything down the joint chain. So at the end of this, at the end, I will have all the controllers populated here. Okay, now I have finished duplicating and placing all the controllers on the hand. Now it's time to use the controller to do something. Now all you have to do is grab the controller and then the joint underneath it to a constraint or a constraint without maintain offset. Okay, do that on all the joint. So let me pause my video again so I can go over every one of them. They're all the same thing, so I don't need to show you everything here. Okay, now I have all the IK set up, but the thing is when I rotate this one, the other ones doesn't follow. Okay, that's because they're all underneath their individual group, but they don't have any relationship. And the process of fixing that is very simple. You just need to open their hierarchy. For example, I'm doing the pinky finger now. All you have to do is parent the pinky finger 04, parent the group, okay, the top group, to the controller of the finger 03, pinky finger 03. Okay. Now, if you open the hierarchy, it's one controller and its offset group, and then its actual top group, and then that group underneath another controller, and then its own, and that controller's offset, and then group, and then that should be go to the one higher than that. Okay, so repeat that one goes to there. Now if you open the entire hierarchy of the pinky finger, you see the same pattern, just like what we did on the arm, but with one more offset group in the middle. So pinky finger's offset group, pinky finger's top group, and then pinky finger 3. 3 is offset, 3 is top group, and then pinky finger 02, 02 is offset, 02's group, and then pinky finger 01, and so on. So that's the process. Let me pause the video here and you can do everything, every other fingers the same way. Okay, now I have finished all the parenting. In my outliner, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups for 5 controller groups of my 5 fingers. Okay, now I need a overall control on them. I can go create a nervous circle and then just drag it there, because this circle is not controlling anything using its transformations, so that means I can do anything I can or I want with it, as long as its shape fits my need. Okay, oops, turn off this off selection. I can drag it open. Don't need that one. Drag this one. Maybe I don't need that one either. Okay, just form a curve that looks like covering all the fingers in front of it, in front of them, and that should be good. Okay, something like this. Now let's call this one AC left hand overall control. Okay, or just call it that way, overall. And then I don't need anything there either. Freeze transformation there. And then let's start adding some attribute. First attribute I want to add is something called a divider. Let's call this divider 01. Give it a nickname. The nickname will be a space. Okay. And then we can leave everything here 0, so it cannot move, and then add. Now we'll add a attribute there that does nothing and cannot even change. One last thing I want to do on it is lock it. Excuse me. Now I have this one locked. This one behaves like a divider to separate all the attributes I'm going to add down there with the original attributes of this controller. Okay, just to make these things easier to see. Now let's grab it and then start adding some new attributes. This time there will be some 01 minimum is a -10, maximum is 10, and then add. Okay, and then sum 0, 2. -10, +10, add. And then sum 0, 3. Oops. Should be there. Sum 0, 3. Okay. Minimum will be -10, maximum will be 10, default will be 0, and then add. Okay. And then I need another divider. This time it's divider 0, 2, and then let's give it also a space as the nickname, and then zeros in maximum and minimum, add. Again, right click on it, and then let's just lock it. Okay. That way I can divide my sum controllers with my index and so on. Again, it's for visual readability. It does nothing. So let's start adding the index. Index 0, 1. Or index finger 0, 1. It doesn't matter because it's an attribute on the controller, so it can have on your nickname. So minimum is -10, maximum is 10. Let me copy this name, add, and then 0, 2. Oops. Zero, 2. Minimum is -10, maximum is 10, and then add. One more time, 0, 3, -10, 10, add. Okay. Repeat this pattern until you finish all the fingers. I will pause here and then finish everything. Okay, now I have all 5 groups of the controllers or attributes to control my controller now. My controller works exactly like what the ARM works on the FK part. We don't have IK here. But the thing is, sometimes I want to have a universal control on all the fingers, and that's why I have all those attributes. To actually use those attributes to control the controllers here, I need to go use another technique called set-driven key. Let's go to animation and then key, set-driven key set. Grab our controller and then load driver. That's our driver. Okay. And then let's grab the first joint on the sum. Okay, sorry, first controller on the sum, and then let's go find it here. I need to grab its offset. Okay, load driven, select the offset, and I need to use my sum 0, 1 to control my sum finger controller 0, 1's offset. Let's go grab one of the rotations. Let's check. I think the one will be the rotation Y here, so rotate Y. Okay, let's key them. That means when the sum 0, 1's value is 0 here, the sum finger 0, 1's offset rotation Y will be 0, 2. Now let me change the value from 0 to 10 here on the sum 0, 1 attribute of my overall controller. Now go back to offset of my sum controller 0, 1. Let's rotate it in like that. Let's find a sweet position here. And then let's key it again. That means when the sum 0, 1 attribute on my overall controller changes from 0 to 1, then the offset group of my sum 0, 1 controller will rotate from 0 to 40. That means when I change it here, you see the sum controller can rotate with it. Okay, that's what that driven key is. Now let's go back to sum 0, 1 -10, and then grab the offset here of my sum 0, 1 controller. Let's rotate it back also. Okay, like that. Key it again. Now that means if my sum 0, 1 value on my overall controller changes from 0 to -10, then the offset group of the SUM01 controller will actually rotate back to this position too. Okay, like this. Let's move on to the next one, this one. Okay, grab the offset group. Okay, don't use this one, use the offset. Let's load a driven. I'm going to use the same driver because that's all my attributes are. And then on the offset 02, let's see, the same axis, rotate Y, let's key it. Okay, go change SUM02 to 10, let's rotate it that way. Okay, key it, and then go back and rotate it back, and then rotate it back more. How much you wanted to rotate it will be based on how much you want it to go, and mostly we want to give it like more than it's capable of, because in animation sometimes we may want to break the joint, you know, to exaggerate the animation, or for other purposes like to form the lines on the joint on the finger to make them form a very fluid line, or for any other reasons. So it doesn't have to be quite realistic. Sometimes we want to break the joint. Anyways, let's move on to the next one, and select the offset and then load driven. I believe this time it's also rotation Y. Don't forget to change the attribute here to change that to SUM03. Okay, let's key it first. When they're all in the original position, let's change the SUM03 to 10, and this one can rotate forward. And key it. Now let's go back and then -10 and rotate it back like that. Okay. Let me do one more on the index. So I want to do it here, not there, because that one is not supposed to be considered as the finger. Actually, it's the one more joint on the upper stream. There are so many joints in the middle of the hand, and we cannot mimic all of them, so let's just use one here to represent their position. But for those 4 fingers here, we want to start from the second controller. Okay, grab that. Let's find the offset. You can just press the up button on the keyboard to select the parent. Okay, up, and then load driven. This time I will use index 01 attribute on my overall controller to control the rotation. Let's see, Z of the index finger here, index finger controller here. Okay, let's key it. Sorry, not the controller, but the offset group of the controller. Okay, key it, and then let's go back to the overall control, change the index 01 to 10, and then rotate the finger also like that, and then key it. Go back to -10 and rotate it up like that, and then key it. Okay, like this. So everything else here are the same thing. So I'm going to pause the video here, and I will show you what I got when I finished. Okay, now I have everything set driving keyed. If I grab those things, all the attribute here, I can you know, move the fingers this way. I can go individual ones to change them. I see it's much easier to go into those individual ones to change things. If I want to pose any pose real quick on the finger, I do have the original FK controllers open. They're not controlled. That's why we need that offset, and I can fine tune it if I wanted to. Okay. So that's all we went over last class. Your assignment is finish this one, do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I'll give you 4 extra credit added to your grade if you can figure out how to put it into their groups and then finish the hierarchy here. So you end up like everything is underneath AC master mover, and then there underneath the left hand rig group, right, we have a join. We need a controllers group, right? And then I need something like this. I need the IK to be able to control it when I'm in IK mode, and FK also to be able to control it when I'm in FK mode. Okay, I need those to be true. I also need this overall controller to follow the hand when the hand rotates. If you can achieve that and then clean up the hierarchy here, hold them into the left hand rig group, then I will give you 4 extra credit. Okay, good. Let's see, and then yeah, finish it on the other side. I'll see you in class.